Brian Powell of I Run Far here with Dylan Bowman before the 2019 Vibram Hong Kong 100K. How are you, Dylan?
I'm great, Brian. Good to see you again.
Yeah, it's your first time here in Hong Kong?
It is, first time.
You've had a couple days here. What's it like?
Well, I've been in bed for the first couple of days, unfortunately. Yeah, I saw the last 21K of the course on Sunday, and then unfortunately fell ill on Sunday night. And so I have basically been nursing myself back to health over the last day and a half or 2 days, and luckily I'm through the worst of it, and I'm feeling moderately better. I'll go on a run after this, and we'll see how I feel. But I think
still got a couple days, a little imposed rest.
Yeah, exactly.
How was that last 21K of the course?
It's really interesting. It's unique. A lot of steep ups and downs, a lot of stairs, as everybody hears about this course. I went over the top of Tai Mo Shan, the high point of the race, which comes right at the very end. And so it was good to see it. I think it was very useful and helpful for me to see that prior to the race. And yeah, we'll see. It's a unique and interesting course, so I'm excited to see the whole thing.
Yeah. Now, how has your training gone this winter? Because for many past winters, you've been in the Bay Area with full access to trails all winter long. Now you're up high in Colorado.
Yeah, it's quite different, but I think I did pretty well with my preparation. I actually went to the West Coast and did sort of like a 3-week focused training block, I guess you could call it, in San Francisco and in Portland, and I did a couple runs in Mill Valley on the Dipsy Steps on my old training grounds there, and it really helped to sort of launch me back into running fitness. And it's been very cold and snowy in Colorado to start the winter, and so I've just basically been doing the best that I can there, doing a lot of skinning and skiing as well, which has really helped fitness-wise. Maybe not running specificity-wise, but I mean, overall, I felt really good before I left for my trip. And you know, with the illness, we'll see how that impacts my overall fitness and energy. But I think I might be ready for a good one.
Nice. Well, you certainly had a good 2018. You know, running great at Tarawera, again at Fuji, taking second at TDS. How did your season feel in retrospect?
Yeah, it felt really good. I mean, I think I did a really good job last year of picking the right races at the right times, and then training specifically for those races. And then, of course, the North Face 50 got canceled at the end of the year, so I really wish I could have gotten one more race in last year. But because that was canceled, it gave me an opportunity to shift the emphasis and refocus on this race, which I wanted to do for a long time. So it's been 5 months since I raced at TDS, which for me is kind of a while. And usually I don't know, I might be a little rusty. I like to race a little bit more frequently than that. But yeah, who knows? I feel fresh, definitely motivated to race again, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. Now,
even with the North Face 50 last year, if it happened, it still seems to me like that would have been a really light year racing-wise for you. I mean, you're normally fairly careful in what you pick. You're not an every weekend kind of racer, but was it a planned sort of light year or focused year, however you want to say it?
Well, I think just at this point in my career, I am very intentional about what I want to do and when I'm going to do things like that. And I've found that for me, I'm always at my best when I'm super motivated and fresh and energetic. And when I race too much, it really compromises my enjoyment for my training. And then when I'm not really enjoying my training, I'm not motivated to race. And so I found that for me, I'm just much better when I train and race a little bit less. And so last year, I mean, the other thing was I was doing sort of longer races last year. I did Tarawera early, and then I did sort of the personal project on the Lost Coast, which was another 11-hour day. I did Mount Fuji, which was a 19-hour day. I did TDS, which was 13.5-hour day. So those are a lot of long days, and you know, all in all, I definitely felt like I pushed myself last year, even if I only competed 3 times. I only had 4 races on the schedule, and yeah, I mean, all of them were very focused events for me, and I think that's how I perform my best.
Nice. So how did you exactly work that? Because it happens in our lives, whether it's a race being canceled or life getting in the way of going to a race. How did you transition from being, I'm at my peak fitness, I'm ready to race, to there's no race. And then how do you work back to training?
Well, to be honest, it really wasn't that difficult for me. After TDS, I had kind of a rough fall. I had a lot of travel immediately after the race, and of course we had just moved back to Colorado and we're trying to get back into a groove there. And having been on the road for 5 or 6 weeks and on 3 different continents, it took a long time for me to get like my energy back. And so I really wasn't feeling that great going into the North Face 50, even though I was excited for the race. Like physically, I definitely wasn't 100%. I wasn't expecting a great result, to be honest. So it wasn't difficult for me to accept the reality that
in some ways it was fortuitous. I mean, you don't want it to, but yeah.
And we drove all the way out there from Colorado, and I mean, the smoke that they had there in Northern California was unlike anything I'd ever seen. And when we lived there were a few wildfires, and this was way, way worse. So it was easy to realize and recognize that was the best decision for the race to make. And so, yeah, for me, it was fortuitous, and I wanted to come to this race for a long time. So I said, okay, well, I'll shift focus to Hong Kong.
Nice. And so in some ways, it's a relatively short period to go from like a sort of a focus race to another one for you. Did you get a good block in between those two, planned race and race? Yeah,
so I guess after the North Face 50, there was a couple weeks where I didn't do that much, but then when I got back into training, basically right when I went out to the West Coast, right around the holidays, that's when I sort of got back into real training, started doing workouts again and proper long runs. And the fitness came back really, really quick. It was interesting. I went out for a 4-hour run in Mill Valley where I used to live, Double Tam Summit, long run I used to do all the time when I lived there. And I remember it was just like so tough. I felt so unfit. And then, the following Wednesday, I did a time trial on Mount Tam and ended up running like within a minute of my fastest ever. So the fitness comes back so quickly for me because I've been doing it so long that once I sort of got back into a groove, I started feeling really good again. And because I haven't raced in a long time, I feel fresh. So yeah, it really wasn't that difficult.
So now that raises an interesting question. How much of that first run is mental and confidence and all of that, as opposed to actually not having fitness?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that has more to do with
and that's not just about you. I think I asked that generally.
Yeah, or just like as a matter of knocking the rust off a little bit. Yeah, just muscling through one sort of tough long run, and then you're sort of back to within 5 or 10% of your maximum. And I think that's a really important thing for people to learn in this sport. Especially this is my 10th year of racing ultramarathons, and I think I've done a pretty good job of like maintaining my health and my enthusiasm and my love for the sport. And I think a lot of that has to do with me learning that it doesn't take 10 weeks to get back into race shape oftentimes. Yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you very much, Dylan, and best of luck this weekend.
Thanks, Brian.